Welcome to the Main Course Podcast.
Oh, where we have an extensive menu of all things relationships.
And the best part is,
you as listeners bring life's ingredients as we cook up real conversations.
Well, join us for a bite. And, you know, maybe you might get some tea as well.
Possibly.
Yeah. First off, I just want to say shout out to the Minnesota Vikings for holding it down. It's nice that they were able to
We know the
keep
true
that
winners and
2-point,
champions.
high
We know
up there.
the true winners and champions here. Okay.
We handed the Green Bay Packers a well-deserved loss, and I think that really helped them with their position in the playoffs. So shout out to the Minnesota Vikings. Thank you very much.
La Lenza.
Well, anyways, thank you all for sticking around. And as we got to the intermission to bring on our special guest for tonight, if you haven't already noticed, this is Miss Julie from Hmong Baby. And then this is also her husband.
Nyato.
Nyato. It goes by Money. He is my yayi, my favorite yayi, actually, by the way. He's my only yayi. He's my favorite yayi.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if they understand your joke because this is his only sister.
Yeah. So they are the couple that we have been talking about a lot. Mm. We've been talking about when we were in the dark sort of pit, wrestling each other in this dark space. We didn't know who else to extend our hands to really get support from. And so as we kind of talked about it at an angle, not really agreeing with one another, we just said, why don't we invite Julie and Money over? And I said, well, first of all, I think from my perspective, I was like, why? Why do you want Julie and Money to come over? So I'm gonna let you explain that part.
So you know how we were already arguing, and he's almost like, "What is this a trick? Like why would you want them to come over?" Personally,
am I in trouble now?
Yeah, personally, well, actually, they didn't even know that about our problems personally, and I felt like they would come in with an objective, referee kind of lens. But however, I had a secret agenda. I wanted them to come in, and I felt like I used them as leverage to actually get them to be on my side. Actually, that was the real reason why, because she is his only sister, and so I felt like he would listen to her because all of his life he's always relied on her as his confidant in many other obstacles, even before we were ever a couple.
Yeah.
And so I already knew his relationship was good with his sister, and so I said, why not? Why not give it a shot and try to get someone on my side to get him to listen to me? Basically, was actually what my goal was out of that.
And when you said Julie and Money, here was my thoughts. My thoughts were, no, that's not going to work because Julie and Money, they're not going to come here to help me. They're going to come here to tear me apart, to tell me you need to be a better husband to your wife.
Right.
You have an obligation to your wife that you need to fulfill. And so you need to 这个 to king, 这个 to 不, 这个 to king first, and before you can do anything like that. So I again, going back to that shame part, I felt like I didn't want you both to come tell me what I already know. And I didn't want you to come in and shame me even more because I was already wrestling with the shame part already. But then again, I thought, well, it's my brother-in-law. He's going to advocate for me too in some ways, and I'll be okay with that. I think at least I got a guy who can understand from my guy perspective. He might side with me and help me argue my case so that I can pin it back on her as if like she is the bad person. So that was our take in trying to find someone to help us or a couple to help us. But I want to turn it over to the both of you, kind of just hearing what we talked about here and what we've been sharing. When you both came into the conversation and you both heard us out first, because I remember you both came in, you both didn't have things to say to us right away. You both came into the conversation. I just remember going, tell us what's been going on.
Right.
And we told you what had been happening from our perspective. And we were still kind of defensive and arguing, but I wanted just to hear from the both of you. When you both came in, what did you both hear? What did you both see?
Yeah. Well, I know it was pretty late at night already when the both of you reached out to us.
Yeah, it was.
Because we had put our own kids to bed already.
See, our memories are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I
Yep,
we
I agree.
had already put our own kids to bed, and then you guys had reached out to us and say, hey, can the both of you come over? And we were thinking, like, what's going on? It's like bedtime, past bedtime already. Why are they reaching out to us so late at night? Like something must be going up. And so I do remember what you said, Ningfu, is I remember thinking on the drive there, like, man, Kelvin, at the time, Kelvin. So I remember I was driving there and I was like, man, Monsuma, tu noma, guimonu lecture,
Sound like mom right now. You're my lecture.
You know,
You're my lecture.
yeah, guimonu lecture, but we got there, and you're right. We sat down with you and we just said, hey, what's going on? Like, let us know.
Yeah.
Like, let us just hear what your story is and why the both of you called us here. And after listening to the both of you, like my heart ache for the both of you. Okay. And your moment lecture, like what I was thinking on the drive there, right? But it's more like my heart ache for you, because listening to the both of you, I saw two people who was very angry at each other, for sure. Like that night, you both were very angry at each other.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell just by the tone of your voice and just by your body language, how you sat far apart. You two both had like each end of the couch, and the way you sat, the way you talked to each other, didn't even look at each other when you were telling us your story.
Yeah.
I saw two very angry, just very upset people. But at the same time, I saw two people who really missed each other too. And that's when my heart just ached for the both of you, because I saw that, wow, these two people, they're really mad at each other. Something is causing them to be very mad at each other. But I can see that you missed each other very much too. And then we kept talking more. What were your thoughts that night? That was my initial thought after hearing your story, both of your sides of the story.
Yeah, I think our job that night was to remind you why you two first fell in love with each other. Because, and I think many of the viewers can attest that as you're a young couple, not only are you a young couple, you are working in your careers, and not only that, you have young babies at home. Being new parents, newlyweds and new parents, like you just feel like everything is going against you. And obviously Julie and I can sense that, we could feel that, we heard that from both of you. And then I think we both just stepped back and said, well, like you guys loved each other, and we believe you still love each other. And we feel like you guys just really miss each other. And I think once we said that, there was like a light bulb, or there was something that happened that clicked. And I think you guys realized that that's what it was, amongst the many other things. But the most simple part of it was that you missed each other and you didn't know how to come back to each other. And so once we reminded you of that, then I think it opened up. I think first it calmed some emotions down.
It let your guards down.
Yeah. It let your
sure.
guards down.
By the end of our talk that night. Yeah.
Right.
And then I think that opened up some room for you both to come to some realizations, and then come together and say, hey, like, I think that's what it was. And, I can come back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course we knew it wasn't going to be that easy.
Right.
We knew that just from our conversation that night, you both weren't going to wake up the next morning and forget about everything. Right.
Right.
But like our role that night, I felt like my role that night wasn't to make you like apologize to each other. Right. I wanted to remind the both of you that, you both made a commitment to each other, and that we witnessed your commitment when the both of you got married. And your actions is like testament to that commitment. And that night I wasn't seeing it anymore, and that's why likeกูจะเลยกูรู้ชักกันรู้ไม่เห็นอ่ะแต่ว่าโอเคอันตัวเท่าอันตัวชิโยนะเท่าตัวรู้ช่องนะอันตัวจงช้าเห็นกูบอกตัวลุนซีลุนจะมาลุนซีมัวเกลูไรมัวเกชิจงแต่ฉันว่าแค่ที่ยังบอกตัวโลแค่ที่อยู่ชิคีโลชิคีโลand shiki is another key word too is เท่ารู้ชิเหรอมันไม่ยังมัวขอชิคีเห็นอ่ะ
Oh yeah.
ไม่หาลูมาจงเลยอีตัวหากูเฉาอีตัวสินะกูหากูขี้ก็หากูขี้ก็โอละขี้กูโอละขี้ก็ and so I just wanted to be able to show you guys that you there is still love there but it's almost it's this natural progression in life, right? Raising kids and going through your careers and going through school too. You guys have just forgotten each other. And so remember like what your commitment was to each other. And I think that night what I said to the both of you was that like when times are hard, choose each other. Meaning when things get really, really hard, right? When the kids are crying, when you're exhausted and you've come home late from work and you still have kids to put to bed and dinner to cook and like family obligations to your larger family, and you just feel stressed out and like to your end, your wit's end, right? Remember that like you still need to choose your spouse at the end of the day. You're still a team.
You do remember that.
Yeah, and through that, you both have forgotten each other. So I said to you, I know you want to honor your family, especially you, right, Calvin?
Yep.
I know you had a lot of family obligations and duties at that time to your Moyang family. And I know that you, Tedlang, you felt that too, right? Being a Nyang at that time too. And we all want to honor our family. We all want to honor our parents. But there are many ways to do that and still remember that our allegiance is to our spouse.
That word you just said right there, I think that's the word that whenever I think about that time that we were arguing and always in this disagreement with one another, and having you both join us, that word allegiance, I think Zong and I, we both hold on to that word
lived with us
so
since that day.
we hold on to it so close to our heart because I think that's the word that really changed. That was like the pivotal moment for us in our marriage. That what are we doing? Why are we not on the same team anymore? We vow to be in the same team, but we fight as if like we are enemies. And that word, it just reminded me that, wow, what am I doing? This is a wake up call.
Yeah.
I'm not in allegiance to my wife anymore. We're not building an allegiance anymore. If anything, we're tearing each other apart as if we're enemies. And that really hurt me. And I think when you point that out and I looked at Zong, I remember when I looked at Zong that night, when you were saying that, it's almost like I saw this drawing where it in the mind, like the head is like fighting each other with swords, right? But the heart is like the arm is reaching out. And I just remember in that seat, I remember when you said that and I looked at Zong, I'm like, damn, I really miss you. Like I really wanted to reach out to you and grab you, but my head was like, no. Like I was still in that position of no, I'm not going to lose.
For sure.
Someone
Not
say
give in.
something. I'm like, I still want to prove my point that she's bad. I want you two to see how bad she is. But there's a part of me, I still remember, like my heart was like, I just want to hold you. If anything, not even hold you, I wish that you would just come over here and hold me. That I remember that really clear.
Right.
And that's I'm sure you saw that too, but that's what I saw that night too. It's just I saw that the both of you missed each other very much, but just there's this big wall of pride between the both of you, and you're both just like trying to reach out to each other, missing each other, crying out for each other, but so upset at the other person for not being there for each other, right? It's like you come home and you're upset at your spouse already. Why are you upset? Because you feel like you're the one who had a hard day. Your spouse should be there for you by saying, hey, I know you've had a hard day. How was your day? Or give me a hug or something. But because the both of you weren't doing that to each other or for each other, you were upset at each other. Mad because you're not there for me when I needed you the most. When I was going through like schooling or when I was having a hard day at work and stuff, I would come home and you weren't there for me. You weren't there for me. The first thing you said to me was, why aren't you home earlier to take care of the kids?
Exactly.
Yes.
Right? So
You
you
immediately-
have forgotten about each other. And like we've gone through that, raising a young family and stuff. And it's a natural progression in life, and it's a really tough season in life, but it's part of marriage. Is you
Right.
it's going to be hard, but you have to remember that you are life partners and that you have one goal together,
Right.
right? To raise a family. It's kind of like, you work together as a team, and at the end of the day, you have to come together and say, wow, that was like super hard. How are you feeling? Like, I'm exhausted. Are you exhausted? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it should be a team like that, but the both of you weren't being a team anymore. It was like,
No.
I'm doing it and you're not doing it. You're not pulling your weight. I'm pulling all the weight. And so it was really just a night to help you guys see and remember that we're a team. We're in this together.
I'm laughing a little bit because I remember that very clearly, but I also remember Yinya saying his part, and his part was, us men, we're stupid.
Yes.
I remember Elijah.
We're dumb.
I remember
stupid.
Julie say, you guys have to choose each other. And then he goes, but also one other thing, us men, we're stupid. I remember that from that night all the way.
Yes. We are stupid.
And I was like, oh, how does that help me? Do you want to speak a little bit to that? I don't even remember why you said that, but I remember we were pouring ourselves out to you guys. And that was the other part that he wanted to speak to. And I can't remember clearly why he said that, but I do remember, us men, we're stupid.
I remember that.
Simple minded.
Yeah, but I'm gonna add something, but I want to give a quick shout out to my Eat Now Die Later guys, Gary and Nalu and Kong. But what I meant by that is that us men we're simple minded. We're goal oriented, but we're simple minded. Sometimes we might try to pull off like we know more than we know, but what I always tell Julie is that I don't know about anybody else, but I'm a very simple-minded guy. Like you tell me what you need, and I can try my best to do that for you. And I don't like to play mind games. I don't like to beat around the bush. I just tell me what you need, and I can do that for you. But so. That's what I meant by when I said that us men we're stupid, and that we just need simple things. That's all it is. We just need simple things. We want simple relationship. We want simple direction. We want simple guidance. But we need guidance too.
Yeah.
But with that, we don't like to make things complicated, even though we might seem like we're trying to make things complicated. And I think I hope that put a little bit of clarity on it too. And then I wanted to add that, with our discussion is that when we talked to you guys and we were telling you guys you miss each other and then you guys want to love each other, on the, along to with Glenn was saying was that, there was these there's these father roles and husband roles and son roles that he thought he had to do, right? That he was responsible for. And we also told him, and I told him that you don't have to do everything. You, along with what Julie was saying, was that you need to be allegiant to your wife, and your wife needs to come first, and then your wife needs to have your husband come first. And then I think with that, we were telling you it's okay to let those go a little bit, right? It's okay to not have to be responsible for everything. It's okay to hand those off and come back to your relationship at home, not just to your wife, but to your kids
especially
too.
when you know that it's suffering. Already.
Yes, and because I feel like you were like, but I have to do all these things.
I remember saying that.
I have to be this and that,
And show up.
and we were saying no, it's okay. You don't have to do that. And I just that just came back to my head too.
That I remember clearly. Well, let me go back to the first part and I'll come back to this part here. I think when I heard you said that us men are stupid, when I heard you say that just right now, I'm reminded of what I was thinking when I heard that when we were still in that moment. When you said that, I remember I took that and I used it. I used it as an argument saying, well, I'm stupid, so it's your fault for not teaching me. Your fault for not teaching me. I remember I was defensive again.
You used it as a weapon.
Yeah, I used it as a weapon. So that's the bad part about all this disagreements. But after I sat more about with what you said, I mean, it was true. I was stupid, And I was stupid in the sense that I didn't know how to share my needs with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't know how to express what I needed. And that really was a detriment of myself in the relationship, because then I felt like you weren't fulfilling the things that I needed. But a part that was missing was I didn't even share with you what I needed. And so I was stupid and not in the sense that of not sharing. So I just want to share that part real quick. But to your point about the responsibilities, yeah, I think that was my kryptonite. I think to me, I just felt like I needed to fulfill all these roles. I had so many things on my shoulders that if I didn't, then I would bring such shame and dishonor to my family, to the people who were expecting, people who were looking up to me. Mind you, I'm one of the first to go and seek higher education too. So I think that also was riding on me too. I was like, I cannot fail. I just cannot fail, because if I fail, everyone who's looking up to me, our nieces, our nephews, our family, everyone who's looking up to me, if I fail, then that will be the end of this road that I'm paving for our family who's looking up to me.
Yeah.
So I couldn't afford to fail. I couldn't afford to let things go. I have to keep churning, keep going. And I think it got to the point where it was wearing me down. But when Yinya said that, and I thought to myself, you are right. And I finally admitted and allowed myself to say, yeah, you are correct. I don't have to fulfill all these roles to the point where I'm killing myself. And letting that go and redirecting my attention back to my wife, my allegiance to my wife and my kids first, that really helped me ground myself, because my kids and my wife, they're my heartbeat.
Yeah.
And unless I invest time into that, I'm gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah. And that brings up another point at that time too, is like, who comes first in your relationship, right? Is it your spouse or your kids? And I think at that time, the both of you were putting your kids first before each other.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we were putting our kids and then our careers.
You're putting your kids, your career,
not
your
each other.
education before each other. And I remember telling the both of you, like, you guys have to remember your commitment to each other and work on each other and put each other first before your kids. I know you love your kids very much, but your relationship with each other is going to like show them what love is, right? A commitment of two people. They'll see that through their parents, through the both of you. If you can have a strong commitment to each other, a strong relationship, your kids will see that as a foundation for their relationships in the future as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I would say that was really challenging to even see until you pointed it out, because I think we were the only ones in the family that had kids back to back.
Yeah, your kids were all very young.
Yeah.
All of our kids were back to back. Nobody in the family dared to do what we did because they saw how insane it was. All of our kids were about maybe 16 to 18 months apart, and it was chaotic, but we both kept on saying, we made the right decision. But it did take a toll on us. And even before the kids, we waited 3 years before we even had our kids. We still didn't really put each other first at all. Yeah. It was still my career. I was still trying to go to school and get my master's degree. Telling him, what are you going to do with your life? Is basically what I was kept on asking him. Yeah. I didn't really ask him anything else more important in our marriage. I kept on saying, are you going to go back to school? Remember that? And in the first 3 years of our marriage, I was just like, well, what are you going to do? Well, I go to school, because he wasn't working yet. I was like, aren't you going to look for a job? Aren't you going to do this? I was so nitpicky about everything that you were
my gosh, you know what drove me
doing
insane?
or saying.
As I'm saying this now, I'm just reminded of the
I'm
words
just saying
he used to
it wasn't
use.
really even about the kids. It was just how terrible we were as people.
Like,
to
I was
each other.
something, because I wasn't working at the time, right? I was a full-time student, rigorous program. They didn't.
She was the breadwinner at that time. Yeah.
We didn't work in the school. The program highly recommended you not work, and it was the right move for not working. But what drove me insane, and this is where my defensiveness, I just can't let go, was the things that the words, how important words are, and how much weight words carry. And so I always hear a song that your word is your world, and whatever words you choose, it shapes and forms the world you live in. And so the song always said that drove me insane. That's why I couldn't let go when you both came was, Zong always say like, well, you're spending my money. I'm like, girl, okay, that's how it is, huh?
Yeah.
That's how. Okay, all right, it's your money, okay. But I remember it was so hard for me to
It would cut
fight.
him
she was
Deep.
that was the button that she knew how to push. When she said that, she knew that I was going to flip. But even though I flipped, the part that killed me the most was I couldn't do nothing about it.
Yeah.
Even though I knew that
It's true.
Yeah, it was true.
It's her money.
It made me hurt so much. It's true.
She went out
It's
to
her
earn
money,
it.
and I couldn't afford to work,
Yeah.
and
No.
that killed me because now I was like, I'm stuck. And so whenever she says those
Yep.
words, I'm reminded of him. Like, that's where I'm like, I just want to die. I just want to disappear because I felt so
Yes.
helpless and
I
hopeless.
do remember you saying that. I mean, he didn't reveal to me that that's how it made him feel, but at the time, I knew it didn't make him feel good when I would say those things.
Oh, it hurt.
Yeah.
Dagger.
And I perpetuated the situation. I would say that all the time because I felt like, okay, 1 point for me, and then 0 for you. That's how I felt like it
Yeah.
was just really games. I think we were playing with each other. Little did I know it was actually pushing you literally to the cliff. Actually,
Yeah, well,
until
I
he
was doing
finally
the same,
revealed that to me.
same thing too. Like I was saying stuff like, "You are just this monster." I remember just using that word, and I think that was the button. Every time I used that word, like you
And of course-
form into a monster.
And of course, he'll be like, "Gosh, you're just such a monster," and I'll be like, "How dare you say that? How dare you say that?"
Yep,
And I would
it sounds
turn
like you
into this
transform
monster.
into this.
And I'm like,
Yep.
"No, I'm not. No, I'm not." So stupid.
Yeah, stupid. But I want to just hear from both of you. Like, what do you think it is about a relationship where people are so defensive? Like, what do you think what's driving that defensiveness and not allowing them to just hug it out and say, "Let's work on us"?
I think it's just wanting to be right.
Mm.
I think that's what makes
Yeah.
people in a relationship. To answer your question, I think people just want to be right and not hear out the other person.
Yeah.
So I think once you shift your thinking to remember that we're in this together and we're doing this together as one, then it helps you to hear the other person.
It's
What are you
interesting
gonna say now?
because
Because
You got something to say.
no, because to answer your question, yeah, I agree. It's wanting to be right. It's the ego and it's the pride, right? Even against your partner, your spouse. The interesting thing is, like, whenever we would have disagreements or a quarrel or a fight, I was always introspective. I never attacked her. I don't know if it was the way I was brought up or if it's just my super introverted being, but
You are truly an introvert, by
I'm
the way.
super.
Yeah.
I'm the
the
poster
T.
child for introvertedness.
Poster child.
But every time we would have a fight or quarrel, I always thought, what did I do to cause this? Or what could I have changed? Or what or how could I make this better? Like, that's how I always thought and did in our relationship. At least I think I did. And I never, at least from my memory, I never attacked Julie. I never poked at her, at least not knowingly. And I always tried to fix it or try to think like what could I do for to me to make it better.
Yeah.
And there are times where Julie would be really mad and she just wouldn't tell me too. And so like I had to figure a lot of things out by myself.
You had to mind read, huh? Ooh, what a game.
And I'm not a psychic, but I don't know why I took on that role too. So
Yeah, I would just say we were completely the opposite.
Yeah,
And, like we
I think
were.
so.
I think you even felt it even when we would go out or something. And I remember there was a time that I think we were going to one of your brother's house, and you asked me to bring you swimming trunks. After you had been, I think, drinking all day at a wedding, you still wanted your swimming trunks because you wanted to hit the hot tub or someone's, sauna, whatever. When we get there to someone's house, I think it was one of your brother's house, and I got it. And I remember Julie was next to me, and I took the trunks and like threw it at you, and you're like, what did I do? You know, like,
Yeah.
why you doing that? And
I'm
she was
stupid.
just, she was
Tell
like,
me.
she was like, there's so much violence for me. She was like, let's go take a walk. And we did take a walk. And I remember telling her that night, it's over. You know, I was so floored.
Oh, I remember you
I was
walked
with
off.
the
Yes.
kids
It was
down the road.
I was with
think
the
it was
kids
Oakdale
all
House.
day.
Oakdale
I
I
House,
was like,
yeah.
I'm walking home now.
Yeah.
And it was like 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, it
and
was
we-
And Julie,
and
you
then
chased
you
her
had
down.
to chase
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
I did.
I
I did.
remember
Yeah,
that.
I felt
really
like
my
mad.
gosh.
Like
Yeah.
our relationship was so volatile in that way that I think if you guys didn't intervene, I'm pretty sure we would have had some other very unfortunate domestic violent issues that we would have had. Like we were very close to that point. And honestly, the only reason why we invited you in was so that we would not physically hurt each other because we were getting to that point. We were literally getting to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I understood that too, because the both of you are very self-motivated people, right? You both have aspirations and goals, and you're two people who, if you have goals and things that you want to go for, you go for it at 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And I know coming from an understanding of you both in that way, and then being your sister too, and wanting the best for the both of you, wanting a successful marriage for the both of you, wanting to be witness to the rest of your marriage together. I knew that I had to remind you guys of how you started, right? Your commitment to each other, because you have a long life ahead of you, right? And I want the both of you to be happy. I don't want to see the both of you keep struggling, because I know that you both still love each other very much. Just going through a hard season in your life with raising a young family. And it's my role as your sister to help you see that. It's not my role to help you make that decision.
Right.
But I want to remind you that, this is how you guys were. The decision is yours. I know that after we walk away from this conversation, it's not going to change. You're not going to hear right away. But I want to leave you with thoughts of who you are and what you are to each other.
Right.
And with those thoughts, I hoped at that time that it will help you to rekindle what you had for each other.
Right.
And to remember that.
Yes.
So
I had thought about this question. I wasn't sure if you guys had an answer or even if you did from a clinical standpoint, but I was saying to myself, like, would it have made a difference if Yinya wasn't there and if it was just you? I thought about that. I thought if it would have made a difference, at least for our viewers to hear, because sometimes, honestly, when we take a cultural approach to it, and, I asked all of the men on my side to come, and then you have all of the men on your side, and then we sit at two sides of the table, and then we talk about our problems were in the middle. I honestly don't know if that would have been as effective as having a married couple and someone who would have known our upbringing to actually help us in our situation. Not to say that the cultural approach wouldn't have been successful in maybe other circumstances, but honestly, even for our viewers to understand that we didn't take this cultural approach because I actually didn't feel like it was effective, besides my other hidden agenda that I wanted her to get you to get you to your knees and beg for mercy from me. That was basically where I was at that point. But it was so effective to, I think, have both of you there.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you think that it would have been different if, Yinya was not there.
I think if Yinya wasn't there, I probably would still take that same route that I did, where I needed someone on my side.
And you would still try to get
I
her
would
on
still
your
try to
side?
get Julie on my side in that moment, because I was so hurt and I wasn't heard, and I was cut so deep that I needed someone to see my pain, stand next to me, and help me reveal my pain. So I think if Yinya wasn't there, I would have thought, well, Julie's my sister. She's gonna take my side no matter what. In the end, she's gonna be on my side, and well, sucks for you. You brought in the wrong person. So that's what my mind was. I was thinking that.
Right. But it wasn't that.
It wasn't that. Right. When you came in, you were like, you took a very objective stance. Had Yinya not been there, I think it would have been the same thing. You came in, you took a very objective stance. You were like, you're my brother. I love you. And I'm not going to dismiss the things you're doing. You're my sister-in-law. I love you. And
Still
I'm not going to dismiss.
Yeah.
Yep. If anything, mom's right. You only in my lecture more, right? Because you did lecture the both of us, but you did it from a place of grace where you showed so much compassion and understanding that this is tough. You both are in a very challenging season in your life, and I get it.
Yeah.
And how do we connect and stay close to each other, choose each other in the midst of all of this that's happening?
Yeah.
And I think that would still be the same thing.
And I'm only bringing that up because
Not to say Yin Yang is not important.
Yeah.
Yin Yang was very important too.
I'm
I
only
think, I think he brings a different
Yes,
perspective
he
does.
though, because
Yes.
I mean, I try to be as unbiased as I can, right? As your brother, right?
Yeah.
I think naturally we would think that I would side with you. But then again, like I always tell you, right? You know what, Calvin, I'm your sister, but I'm still a woman married to a man too.
Yes.
And so
Right.
you go oti yang e ku bao hata nu onto the lang tu sha ha onto the lang mo sha te hana. I'm gonna tell you how it is,
Yeah.
right? But Yinya brings a different perspective as an outsider, right,
Yeah.
to the family.
Yeah, got
Some
caught, yeah, like,
things
what
that
was-
I might
yeah.
not see, right, coming from like within the family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say. You know
You
what I'm
know,
trying to say.
here we go.
You know,
Okay.
right?
You know what she's
Like
trying
that
to
one
say.
time.
he's looking for answers
you know,
over
You
there.
know what I'm trying to say, right? You know,
I don't know.
tell.
Yeah, that one banquet with the chandelier. Yeah. No, well, the thing too is that, like, you know, I know that you guys, and I'm coming from the siblings now, right? So Julie and Klanifu and your siblings. Like, Julie is your only sister, and you guys all love her a lot. And you guys all listen to her words, and you guys all revere her, and she's very important to you guys. So I come in and say, what if I did what you're doing to her? What if I said those things to her, like what you're saying to your wife? What if I was treating her that way? How are you looking at me? How will you look at me? And how will you look at your sister now? And I think that I have to remind you guys of that too, because you love her so much. You don't want anything to hurt her. And the last thing you would want is her husband to be hurting her. So then I kind of flip it
Yeah.
back on you to remind you that
This is
if you don't
someone's
want this
daughter.
to
This is
happen
someone's
to
sister too.
your sister,
Yeah.
why are you doing it to your wife? So
I do remember you saying that. I think that was part of the reason why that, I mean, this is all just that pivotal moment where when you did say that, and I thought about it, I'm like, if you hurt my sister and I heard about it, yeah, you better be sure I'm knocking on your door. Like, I'll be there.
Right.
But as I was thinking about that, I'm like, but yeah, this is someone else's daughter too. This is someone else's sister, someone else's friend. And I think it was just that insight that I was missing. I think it was just so much happening up here that we, like you said, Julie, earlier, that
Right.
the part that's so important. Why did we get together in the first place? And where's that level of respect for one another? And we talked about how this is a personal relational issue, but it's also very systemic too, where it's not just us affected, but the people around us too. And so you are someone's daughter. And when that kicked in, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I need to be more respectful. I paid my vow to you, but it's not just you. So I'm like, you're right. You know, I got to be careful too.
Yeah.
And so this is very true. I got to be careful then. I got to be mindful of that because, again, this is someone else's daughter. This is someone's sister, someone's cousin, someone's friend.
Right.
And just to add to your question of would it have made a difference, or is it important that us two showed up? I think it is important for us to show up because, yes, Julie could have talked to you guys, and you know that could have worked. But the fact is that, you know, this happened with Julie's family, who is now my family too.
Right.
And it's important that I come and support Julie to support you guys as well, right? And so, whatever you guys go through, and Julie is needed there to help, I need to also be there to support whatever happens, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it's important that, like, and you shouldn't, in my view, you shouldn't say, oh, it's her and her family's problem.
Right.
It's her and her siblings' problem.
point.
It has nothing to do with
as
me.
a husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. It's like you know, if you love each other, you care for each other, you support each other, you have to support each other's families as well, as best as you can, you know, if it's warranted, if it's needed. And you shouldn't blow each other off, because I view it like if I blow them off, I'm blowing my wife off.
Right.
And what kind of person am I? What kind of husband am I? What kind of brother-in-law am I? What kind of son-in-law am I now? And
hai cần cầu là giờ hai kiểu luôn mà chọc cả luôn cha tất cả các cái favorite giờ gì nè
Favorite year.
oh the chicken y'all need a favorite year go find yourself a favorite year like this guy just don't wear that jersey please
Yes.
we know the I'll flash it.
come on now hey.
I'll flash it.
Yes.
But for the listeners I want to just ask you both. I know that some of our listeners too they may be struggling, they may be in that same season that we were before. You both coming from the outside into the dilemma that we had, what recommendations would you both have for the family who are seeing like maybe there is some rift happening within the marriage of their siblings or their close friends? Like what are some things that you would recommend they do?
Meaning if we saw, if they see their siblings struggling with marriage,
Yeah.
I would just reach out to them and say, hey, like, is everything okay? Like, that's it. I wouldn't pry too much into it.
I think
at
it's
first,
challenging.
until I know.
Yeah, when they don't invite you into the space. Honestly, I believe you guys only really intervene in certain parts or certain times when you guys witnessed something violent that could have happened and you would just intervene or stop. Like maybe when at one point when all of his reliance was on alcohol, you know, like you would come in and you would intervene and say, you've had too much. It's not really that he had too much. It's that you were like looking at me. Yeah. I'm over it and I'm done with it. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I should probably intervene. Something like that. I've seen you do, but.
Yeah. And I think what's important as a sibling is to let your siblings who are going through this know that you're there for them, right? Because like we said, unless they invite you into this very serious and sensitive conversation, they're not going to open up to you, right? You can ask them, hey, like, it looks like something's going on with the both of you. Like, what's going on? You're just going to get the, oh, we're fine.
Yeah.
Oh, we're fine. But you can take that a further step and say, well, let me know. I'm here if you need someone to talk to. Call me, text me. We'll go out for coffee, whatever. You know, we'll take a walk. I'm here. I think if you always let them know that you're there for them, as they keep going through this, they're going to remember your words and they're going to know that you're there for them. And they'll reach out to you when
That
the time,
invitation is there.
when the time is right for them. Yeah. But you can never just expect to pry out information this sensitive from people. But you can let them know that you're there for them.
Yeah, I will say that even though the conversation, it was short because it was only for a few hours, you know, she still checked in with me, like, you know, like kind of like at a 6-month mark or whatever, a year or so, and just checking to see how things were going. Mainly just because we never really spoke of it again. We didn't really rehash it with you guys.
Yeah.
It never occurred to us to give you a follow-up.
Yeah.
But I think it was fortunate enough that you did think to just check in and make sure things are still okay and they're going well, especially because life still continued to move forward for us. And so I think that was really important, especially because we spoke about Esther Perel's It Takes a Village to really uplift a marriage or to see a couple actually thrive and survive. And I think it was really that. It took a village. I mean, it wasn't just you eventually opened up the doors for us to be more susceptible to other people, actually, because we were in fear of allowing anyone into actually our marriage.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I really appreciated about you both having a conversation with us at that time? I really appreciated that you both spoke from a position that wasn't siding with one or the other. I just remember both of you talking to us in a very neutral, objective stance. Like you didn't, the words you both used, it didn't sound like you were leaning on one side or the other. It just felt like you both were just very firm with where you are. And every time I noticed, I would try to pull you into my side, you almost like you put a stop to it. Like, no, we're not doing that. Don't pull me over there. We're going to talk about what's right here, what the issue at hand here is that it's about you too. Don't put me into your side. I'm here to tell you what I'm noticing. And you both were able to do that very well. And I think that's really important for the listeners to understand that to invite someone into the space to have that conversation too is it may help to have a couple that can contain the space
Mm-hmm.
and be able to maintain that space and maneuver that space and navigate it, but not lean too much on one side or the other. Another piece I think you said last time too in the previous session, you talked about how it's important for you that we invited someone, or you get advice from someone who's been through it too,
Right.
or who's had that experience too. Not that the people that didn't have experience can't speak into it, but someone who's been through it, they can help you understand how to navigate that. And I think that experience is so important.
Yeah.
I agree. Your choice of words were very selective. I know that. I know that for sure, because even though I was complaining and saying all these things out openly, and I was like, "Can you translate that for him?" You know, I would be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like if you say it, he'll listen. That would be exactly what I would say. I wouldn't even be like telling you exactly how I was truly feeling. I was asking you to just, make things right and just tell him,
yeah.
make him right.
Yeah. I think another important thing for us too is that we knew that the both of you trusted us very much. So we weren't going to go around and share this sensitive information with anybody else. This is the first time that we're kind of opening up about
We're
this.
only doing this because you told us to.
We're not uncomfortable
But
doing this. Just kidding. But also, you have to also remember that the people who are coming to you, they trust you. That's the reason why they're sharing it with you.
Yeah.
Especially a topic that is this hurtful to them. If they're if they're willing to open up to you, right? They trust you enough. And so we understood that, we knew that, and
Yeah, I think that could be a tough part, is finding someone who you can trust, and where you will believe that they won't go spread your business, right? Or they won't go to like mom and dad right away and say, guess what so and so's doing, right? And that is a difficult part, but I hope that the viewers who are listening and watching, that I hope that they can find someone, or some people that they can trust to talk to, confide in, and that they believe that they can help them.
At the end of the day, I cannot stress enough that we could not have worked out this by ourselves. If we didn't have them, we would have had to gone to some type of counseling. And if it wasn't that first counselor, we would have gone to another therapist. We would have gone to another one. I just feel like doing that actual work on our marriage would have been really important for us, regardless of who we have. And I know that we've had listeners before that say, well, I don't have that kind of circle. I don't have that kind of community. I don't know if you want to speak to that from at least, your own actual, clinical background. But a lot of people need to make it normal to seek help. And I find that was actually really hard for us actually at that time. And I feel like it's still a problem even in, the context of Big Yamona. So it's just something that I would stress. And if you're listening, I hope that you can share that with someone and let them know that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be vulnerable.
Certainly is. And I think there's the cultural piece that where we touched on earlier too, is that usually you have blown out. Let's talk about it. And while that's important too, and that's helpful, I think for us, what we found helpful about talking to Yinya and to Julie is that we talked to someone who, again, we trust, and we didn't want everybody to know the business. I think that was something that we're still trying to protect too, was that we didn't want everyone to know about us and what was happening. So we just wanted to start small, something that was manageable for us, that we can trust that this is not going to blow up, and we trust two people who can hold this information for us, that we're not going to be judged too. I think that's a part that we really were scared of, is that they're going to judge us at that time, and they're going to say some things to us that is going to make things worse, and all the above. We just wanted to talk to a couple where we can have a fluid, open conversation, not feel judged, but also trust that the information will be contained. Another piece I want to add as we start to wrap up the segment here and move on to some things fishy is, I would also...
That's my cue to leave.
No, sir, you're staying right there.
Yeah, I'm so glad that all of your
to bed.
buddies are online.
Another piece that's important too that I would throw out there is finding a couple who has the best interest in you. I think you both really had, no, not I think, I know you both had the best interest in the both of us doing well and seeing our marriage succeed. And so I want to tell the listeners too that find a couple or someone who has the best interest in you. We're key na yo. They're not going to help you.
Yeah.
They're going to destroy you instead.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the people who were hoping for you to, tear down your marriage,
Right.
and then they might come and take your spouse away. We hear all these stories all the time, but find a couple that truly is invested in you and want to see you succeed. Another part I want to say too is find a couple that's going to help make you laugh at the end of the day too. I remember, you painted such a good picture earlier. We're talking about the ox, right? I remember we were just so upset at each other, but you both are just so lighthearted. You can speak facts to us. You can bring a lot of insight into the struggles and just all the trials and tribulations that we were going through. But you also brought, a very compassionate humor into the conversation. And I just remember you both made us laugh. And this, when I say, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I'm going to say it anyways. I remember you said this and we just chuckled. And that really changed the tone and our mood.
Yes.
You both, actually, Julie
Immediately.
said this. Julie was like,
God, what did I say?
yeah, I'm saying it. When I say it, you got what I
I don't
say.
know what you said.
You're right, listeners. I'm gonna say it. When you said this, it just changed the mood. We laughed, and I kid you not. After that day, that really changed our mood and the way we are as a person. What you said was, and after all this, after we're done talking about this, have makeup sex. It's the best. I remember you saying that.
I said that.
You did?
Yes.
Did
you
she?
said
Oh,
yes.
yes,
I remember
guess she
clearly.
did. Well, she goes, you just miss each
Yep,
other.
you just miss each other. You really miss each other and have makeup sex. It's the best. And I was like, we
Our
laughed.
kids are watching this.
I know, right? We
Yeah,
laughed
they're not
and
going to know what that is.
we just laughed. I remember I just chuckled. I'm like, damn right. I think it's going to be good. I think.
That was actually an advice that was given to me
Oh, wow.
beforehand.
Oh, of course. Oh, thank you for handing it down.
And
Just passing on the faith.
Yes.
I just remember we chuckled.
Passing down the wisdom.
We chuckled and yeah, they turned that.
Well, that's a great segue to something's fishy.
Something is fishy here.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
Well, first of all, thank you both for joining the podcast and bringing your wisdom into the
for having us.
conversation. Again, all jokes aside, inviting you both into our marriage was the best thing that we've ever done
Absolutely.
for ourselves and for our marriage, and really just helping us ground ourselves again, finding who we are as a person, finding who we are relationally, and then redefining our marriage and being grounded and being connected with one another. And so we're indebted to the both of you.
Yeah, well, I think we are very grateful to have seen, how far the both of you have come since that very hard season in your life. So